At 10 o'clock, we'll call the Parks Board meeting, Douglas County Parks Board meeting to order. Roll call. I'm Jerry Chartier, Chairman here. Gina?
Here.
Phil? Here. Troy?
Here.
Craig?
Here.
So we do have a quorum. Good. Approval of minutes. Get a chance to read them. I know they're sent to you in advance, but everybody get a chance to read them?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as posted.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for approval. All in favor?
All right,
Let the record show it was unanimous, rather than calling out everybody's name. Unanimous. Okay, review agenda. New business, review the, oh, geez, I'm blank again.
fiscal year.
Yeah, capital improvement plan, fiscal year 21-25 and 25-30. We'll be talking about the campground occupancy rates and the fiscal year of 2026 budget review. Okay. Want to talk about that now or keep going? Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, we'll just dive into it.
Yep.
So our first order of business is to look at the 26 through 30 capital improvement plan, where I wanted to start looking at the 21 to 25. Gina, you'd raised the question about looking at a capital improvement plan. And it was on my radar, and it just happens we're at the tail end of the 21 to 25, and so it's time to do another 5-year plan. So what I presented here is the 21-25 plan in its entirety. And you've got 3 or 4 pages of summary data, and then you've got these sheets that are red and green. And so just going through the 21-25, I checked off anything that we've accomplished in green. There are some things that I deleted. For example, this was put together back when we had parking fees, and so there was a lot of stuff about updating kiosks and things like that related to pay boxes, so I scratched all of those. The unhighlighted items are still outstanding, and we can discuss those. And then the orange highlighted items, those are either grants in process or to be approved, just to show that those are being addressed. And then, so I took a number of items off of this list and I added it to the 26 list. And we can review that. And I think when I first got into the position, I found this capital improvement plan and basically used it as my roadmap. And we have to be flexible because you have marine board grants are targeted at boat ramps and docks. There's one cycle a year. So, for example, going after Cooper Creek this year, you'll see in the 26 through 30 plan, I've got Ben Irving and my Walita in sequence after that because you can't get them all in 1 year. And then another number of kind of aspirational things, and we can review it as a group. So I'd really like to just have you look over the 21-25 plan and then really dig into the 26-30 plan and see what we're missing and what other ideas we have.
So then Mark, is this, I know we talked before that the original Parks Master Plan was kind of dated, correct? And not necessarily relevant moving forward. So is this taking the place of that?
Well, one's a master plan that just talks at a high level about active parks and passive parks. This is a separate document, and it's how we want to, kind of a roadmap for capital improvements.
Okay, and so are we looking at ever updating or redoing the master plan, or is this gonna be what we use as our guideline?
If this board or the board of commissioners deems that we need a new master plan, we'll do one, but I personally don't see the need to do one just for the sake of doing one. But if we feel like we need some direction, it needs to be refreshed, I'm open to that. But this is my focus, capital improvement.
Well, I think that kind of helps to me understand, so obviously when we're asked to make a decision on planning or what we should advise on knowing what the end goal is. And that, hey, these are our priority things that we wanna get done over the next 5 years helps form that decision. Otherwise, it's kind of I can't necessarily give advice on what we should do if we don't know what our ultimate goal is, right? And so that's why I was asking that question is if I understand that, hey, these are the things we wanna accomplish in the next 5 years, then I can actually be advisory to those.
And so part of the master plan was an asset assessment done in that, and
Asset assessment.
yeah, and also in that was, so like the playground, it needed $1,500 to fix it, so was that stuff done?
The master plan didn't get into that level of detail.
Okay.
This is not an appendix of the master plan.
Okay.
And the master plan, it's a high level, which are active parks, passive parks, and just very high level. You won't see any sort of detail about this park needs this sort of capital improvement.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
So it's a nice document, but it doesn't have a lot of substance in terms of guiding capital.
Okay. Cause that just helps guide the decision on future, if, how much is it gonna cost to get this park up to standards? And so when I do master planning all the time, of course, and so when we do that, we outline every asset, what it takes to get it up to standards, and I was just wondering if we did that at that level.
That's my 26 through 30 plan attempts to do that. It's, we have subject to the grants that are available out there and which grant windows we're playing in. And I try to pursue a balance of revenue generating investments and non-revenue generating. I mean, we can't just focus on revenue generation. We have to produce playgrounds, we gotta do like the dog park, River Forks, things, amenities that the public wants. But I try to balance that with ensuring we're getting the revenue stream coming in to cover those grants.
Yep.
And so it's not a singular focus.
As far as that goes, so for our bandwidth and understanding too, and it's probably on here and I just missed it, cause I have not had the required amount of coffee I need to survive yet today, so. How do we know which one, so that you said passive and active, I'm assuming passive means it's not creating an income, correct? So I guess that's kind of my question is, if the master plan is no longer necessarily relevant, should we look at, is there something we could put together just for us to reference back to, that these are our list of passive and these are our list of active?
That list hasn't changed other than, we got rid of Bass Creek and some other green oaks, those would drop off the list, but I don't see that, the active passive as needs to be redone every few years. Stanton's always gonna be an active park, for example. So it's just, we've had some deletions and I'm open to it. This is really what drives me.
Right.
This capital improvement thing. Just, some of it's spitballing, just throwing out some ideas, and some of it's stuff we can all agree needs to be done. And there's a lot of stuff there I tried to throw down as much as I could, just to have this discussion. I feel, you look in arrears, I feel very good at how much we've tackled of the 21, 25 list. It's actually served as a good, when I first got in the job, I don't know Amaker from Stanton, from my leader.
Right.
So I kinda glammed onto this as a starting point and started looking at stuff and then trying to match the grants with pursuing them.
And sometimes you have to go through low hanging fruit depending on what money you have, you just gotta start knocking stuff off.
There's
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah, you just have to, that's just the way, you just have to do it that way.
Is there any, I know from public standpoint, it seems like the park master plan is still looked at and viewed as this is a document that we are using to guide how we move forward. And it's been brought up, obviously, multiple times. And so I guess my thought is it something we need to just completely sunset and say that the parks master plan was created and served its purpose, and we're now using the capital improvement plan as well as our active passive park plan to guide our decisions moving forward? I guess, so for me, something can't be irrelevant and relevant at the same time, right? So if it has no real relevance now because of just its age and everything else, is there something we should put out saying that it served its purpose and that we've identified a better way to plan and move forward, so that it's understood within the community that that's not guiding our current decisions.
I defer to the board on what you wanna do there. I can produce a master plan, frankly, it's just gonna sit on the shelf, this is my guiding document.
So that's what I'm saying, is do we need to officially say that the previous master plan served its purpose and that we're no longer using that we're using the capital improvement guide, or however you wanna word this, as well as to guide what the Parks Department is doing. But, and I think the public understanding that will take some of the confusion out of, well, why aren't you using this master plan? Well, cause it's not
I'm the
relevant.
public, I just focus on this.
I think the way you can word it is the master plan drove how this document was created, because you used the master plan to create this document, right? Because
Predecessor did.
yeah, the predecessor, whoever did, somehow this document was,
Rocky.
yeah. This document was driven by the master plan because we knew what parks we were gonna keep based off the master plan, so this is the new document going forward. So if we worded it in that way, once these are all cleaned up and all the work's done, and now we get the parks up to stump, which is gonna be forever, right? You gotta have enough money to do that. Then you revisit the master plan and you look at future, okay, now what's the next steps?
Yeah.
So if we worded it that way, I think that public would really like that. I mean, I know I would.
Looking through this, like you said, it's impressive what's
Yeah. Oh,
been
yeah.
completed in 5 years. And I think getting that,
We should almost $6 million in grants I got the last 3 years. Yeah.
well, and getting that out there, that itemized list of these are the things that have actually been accomplished, because I think what happens with all of us, just naturally, is I only know what's happening in my circle, right? What's closest to me and what impacts me the most. And this is countywide, not just what's closest to any one person in their circle.
It's a lot of completed and
Yes.
projected activity.
It is, and so I think, I mean, we could talk about how to do that, but I think something that's easily looked at and understood, you know, like, okay, so you're doing a fundraiser and you have that meter that shows it going up, right? So even something as simple as listing the number of projects completed this year. Or,
Yeah.
So just a suggestion, once we finalize the 26 through 30 plan, we just annually review what we've accomplished, what's changed.
Yeah.
You know, it's fluid in the sense that, you know, grant opportunities come up and maybe, you know, you see here, it's not hitting them off from the top down. It's gonna be a little bit of a shotgun approach because what grant opportunities available.
well, grants are never as unrestricted as we want them to be.
And just for example, the Umpqua Dunes Phase 3 wasn't on the 21 through 25 plan. Local government grant program last year had over $30 million available. And it's an opportunity to go in there, we got $1 million, and that's completing Umpqua Dunes Phase 3, so sometimes you gotta pivot at opportunities.
Yeah.
That was a very large dollar amount that grant program had, relative to historical, so it was, grab it while you can.
And how do we get that word out? Like, you know, $6 million in grants, it's a huge number. I don't know, not everybody's gonna be happy because we're not putting that $6 million in their part of the community or whatever it's gonna go. How do we just like say that and get it out? Because that's important to people.
I can give you a grand summary at the next meeting, that out.
I think it would be super important to do that stuff, cause we gotta get the positive stuff out, cause you know, the negative keeps coming out that we're selling Pass Creek Park. I understand that's a negative, I mean, to some people it's a negative, I feel it's a positive and it's a positive for that community, but let's get that $6 million out there, let's get,
What we've done to Whistler, look at what we're doing
look
to
what we've done to Whistler, look what we're getting ready to do to Stanton.
River Forks.
And I know people are gonna, you know, the people in Curtin, that's not gonna, it's still not in their community, I get that, but the people in the Stanton community, in the Whistler community, and I mean, just gotta get that word out there.
I think that, I mean, obviously I deal with a lot of grants too, and one of the biggest struggles I've had is people questioning or wondering why didn't you do this with the money? And the amount of time that it takes to put out that PR piece and say this grant, so currently I have a recreation grant that I'm working with that was given to us. Can't go to a county, can't go to anybody else, they're only giving it to nonprofits to do recreation work. It has to be tied back to the fire footprint, so the glide area. and has to increase usage of outdoor recreation area, which I have no idea what that means. I don't know how we're supposed to implement that or make it happen. And I've spent countless weeks working with them to figure out what we can do that fits their grant parameters.
Build a trail system at Whistler,
Can't. It's a county-owned park.
recreation opportunity.
We can do something with the
It's on my
fallen
list.
Exactly,
Or you can do
so-
something with the fallen outdoors, let me know, we'll figure
Yes,
it out.
well, and there are opportunities, right?
Figure it
So the back side of that is that I now have to put out enough things through our social media and emails and conversations that explain to people, this is how we came to this decision. This is why we didn't just improve Whistlers, or this is why we didn't put the money here. It's because the people granting the money dictated what we can do with it.
Yep.
And I think it takes a ton of work to do that PR side of it and to get that information out, but it also, it's returned twofold, because people's understanding of the process, they go, okay, like your hands were tied, you didn't have a choice but to do it this way, and it helps them understand why we put money in this park versus that park.
Yeah, the grants are very, very specific to the project you've identified, and it's not just a pot of money and go do what you want with it, it's very defined.
Yeah, and so I think it makes sense to potentially look at saying that the master plan has guided the new documents that we're using to make the decisions, and then I think looking at how we put information out there as far as these are the projects that have been completed and these are the planned or pending. And that, you know, we have a 5-year plan and that some of that will shift based on grants or availability of funding, but that these are our projected or proposed projects. And like you said, doing either an annual update or every 6 months update, I think would help people's bandwidth of understanding the process.
Once we finalize the new 5-year plan, my commitment will be to put it in the agenda for a once-a-year review. Just kind of completed, pending, maybe something dropped for some reason, and we'll just kind of annually keep it up and refresh it.
Yeah.
Rather than here's 5 years of accomplishment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And get the news review to come to that meeting and not the one where we're doing something negative.
They won't come to that maybe.
The 1-year idea is great,
It
along with
bleeds, it
that,
leads.
I know, but.
identifying the
just
grants, those are good ideas.
There's just so many positive things that come out of this as well that we need to make sure we're getting there.
So with that's, you know, you've got the 21-25 list there.
Yep.
Let's focus on the 26 plan, high level. Where's my 26? My sheet's out of order. So we just looked through the park enhancements, the 26 through 30 plan. There's a couple of in here that the board doesn't need to make decisions today, I'm just kind of throwing them out there for future consideration.
Park where you at then?
We want to be on this sheet.
Park enhancement, park enhancement.
Make sure I'm following. I don't know if I have that.
There's a whole bunch of them.
We're in order.
They were in order, there was a bunch of them.
Okay. I probably got it out of order looking for something. I got you. I got it out of order looking for something else.
So this is, you don't necessarily need to dive into all the minor maintenance stuff, this is the grant, sort of the grant level projects. So with the completion of Umpqua Dunes Phase 3, that'll finish this month. And still hoping to have it open for July 4th, and we have a number of people on a waiting list to get in there July 4th, we'll see if we can hit that. So the next development on the coast would be Half Moon Bay. This is not the existing campground, it would be going across Triangle Road and opening up some new area. That way we can develop this while the existing Half Moon Bay is still open. The Umpqua Dunes, the South Campground Loop expansion, that's finishing up. River Forks, with the dog park and the transportation loop trail. That grant is pending. I present on that in July and we'll know if we get it in August and September.
How long is it gonna take to complete that?
River Forks, 3 or 4 months, pretty straightforward project.
Okay.
Mainly putting in fencing and trails and some additional plumbing and watering systems.
Are you starting right after the grant, or you gonna have to wait till September, do you?
I have to wait till, well, once you get the grant award, it's at least another month for Parks Commission to sign it, it has to come in front of the Board of Commissioners, then it goes back, and then you get a notice to proceed, and I can't do anything until I get the notice to proceed. And then once I get that, then I can hire an engineering firm to do all the design work, so it's probably a spring 26 project, have it open by the summer. Amaker is a day use restroom, so currently at Amaker, you've got the campground, you got the boat ramp, the campground, and then day use area, the pavilion is, and we have a porta potty back there. So it's not looking to have a porta potty sitting in
Yeah, that's all
an
right.
active
An active park, yeah.
So that was on the original, the 21-25 capital plan, so I rolled it over, because that's still a to-do item. And then we have some more phase 2, more Half Moon Bay. Whistler Bend, paved group and day use areas. Whistler Bend cabin, so the ATV staging area, there's some, we have a vault toilet there, and we've just brought in a utilities
Oh,
to the staging area for the, what am I thinking now, for the sheriff's building. So we've got data, water and sewer there now,
yeah,
so it's not gonna take much to replace the vault toilet with a flush restroom. That's one I'd wait on, that's an ATV grant I can pursue for that. So that's why that's on there. Chief Myolita, I haven't investigated this came off the original plan, but it's talking about an east campground, phase 1 and 2. And I haven't found a map of what that was, so I need to explore what that was, what Rocky had in mind there. Whistler Bend, those pave up campground roads, I have the grant for that, we're just working through engineering and some other things to get that off and going. You know, I don't agree with the disc golf course at First Beach, I threw it on there just because it was a rollover from the last one. There's proposal to do mountain bike trails up at Mildred Knipe. What you will find though is we really have knocked off a lot of the big capital projects. One of the things that we need to discuss as a group is at Amaker, it needs a refresh and upgrade like the other parks that we're doing. But the issue with Amaker is the bridge, the railroad trestle, so we're very limited. And
yeah, you can't get certain equipment to the other side to do any refurbishment.
and you know, we have a height restriction for the motorhomes, and so we have our limitations there. And I guess we're gonna have to spend $1 million plus to bring that campground up to snuff. And we don't need to decide it today, and in the plan, I pushed it off to the back end of the plan. Because the current occupancy and the revenue it generates, it's hard to justify putting that sort of money into the campground with its limitations. And so I think we're either as a board, we need to decide whether or not we wanna reinvest and maintain it as a campground, or just take away the campground, convert it to more day use space, put a playground, or convert it to some other space. I am not advocating get rid of Amica Park, just for the record.
No.
Yeah, I just think it's easy to go after the Whistler and the Stanton, they're bona fide parks, they have big plans. Stanton especially is gonna be really good, with the tie into the casino.
Honestly, I think Amaker, if there's not a lot of use of, as a campground for overnight camping and all that stuff, would be a good opportunity to have a nice day use park in that area with a playground and kinda like you have at, River Forks.
Yeah, could you put a splash pad, that kind of stuff
Yeah,
in
you
there?
could potentially just wipe out the campground and make that cause there's no playground structures at Amaker.
No,
Yeah,
and
You'd
I,
have the
Kid
boat
play
ramp,
area.
the river access, you'd have a,
I think the community would benefit more from that
Yeah.
than from, not very much used campground.
and the campground, you know, I like to think we're in the recreational business, that campground's not a recreational campground.
No, it's not.
Traveling nurses and
It's a low income housing
yeah,
place,
if you drove through it right now, I think you'll see a lot
No,
of,
the campground is.
which is
Right now,
fine, but I mean, we're not in that business. If it's not gonna generate revenue as a campground, I would definitely be open to,
I just think we're gonna be at a decision point where we need, you know, the bathroom's not ADA accessible, it's old, it's the same vintage as the Stanton one, which is terrible, I'm taking it out. So we're gonna get, the next couple of years, we're gonna have to make a decision as a board whether or not we wanna make the investment in Amaker or look at converting it to a day use facility. Just with the drive it being, the revenue it generates and the limitations with the trestle.
well, right now it's not good at being anything. It's okay. It's great at being a boat ramp, but it's not good as a
And
campground,
it's a
not
good day,
good
it
as.
gets a lot of day use at the
But
back.
I bet
but
it'd get
the camp-
more
The
if you had-
campground is, yeah, anyway.
I bet it'd get more if you had more things for kids to do and that kind of stuff, playground and splash pad.
So it's most commonly used as a raft
Hugely popular in
to put
summer.
in for
Yeah,
floating and
huge.
stuff.
And the back end, it's got a lot of river access, people go down through trails and
Yep.
down to the rocks, and it's got a pavilion back there. You know, at minimum, I think we need to put a flush toilet back at the day use area, cause that's
Yeah.
just silly to have a porta potty
Yeah.
sitting there. And then we can, I'll just leave you with the thought for now
Okay.
about future planning for Amaker, that's why I put it at the back end of the plan.
Yeah.
So we can deliberate that some more. There's other low hanging fruit you chase in the meantime.
Mark, just so I understand correctly, and everyone else does as well, on the scoring system you have on here, it's out of 5, right, for each category? And then the reason this is, like you said, patchwork is because even though we've scored them, or you've scored them based on priority and what the potential is, they get completed based on grant funding and what the
Right.
grant will allow for.
So we, for example, Cooper Creek, Ben Irving and Galesville, the docks are, I think they're original, they're in terrible shape. The wood deteriorates and they don't hold the nails and screws down.
Yeah, they're not great.
So we go up to Cooper Creek a couple of times a year with a screw gun, trying to screw, it's,
Get
that's the
longer and
last thing you
longer
want.
screws.
Well, you know, just the wood's deteriorating,
Yeah.
it's pressure treated.
Yeah.
You ever gotten a sliver from
Oh,
pressure
it's
treated
great.
wood?
Yeah, it's the best.
So anyway, you could, yeah, they all need to be replaced today. The reality is,
What can we
I can
afford?
probably get one big capital grant from OS, from the Green Board a year. And so I just kinda, I went after Cooper Creek first and we'll just sequentially go after them.
Okay.
So they may rank all high, but the reality is you're not gonna fund them all in that order.
And that's because of the grants, what they
Right.
dictate and what we can do. So we're scoring them based on what we know is priority, but then they're getting completed based on the availability of funding.
And within the grant programs I work in, they're not all applicable to all parks. Some of the grants are reserved for parks that have camping, and some are available to all parks. And so you gotta sort through that too.
So taking that into consideration, and I know you said you don't need a decision about it right now, but Amaker, does it limit our potential to get grant funding if we did eliminate the camping?
No.
Okay.
What it would do is, we would take the hidden revenue, as the state gives us so many dollars per full hookup RV spot, I think it's about 1,800 per biennium. And so we'd lose some of that.
But that's being replaced by the improvements and stuff that are happening on the coast, right?
Yeah,
And that's kinda, and again, I'm asking some of this because I know other people have asked me some of these questions and I've spent a lot of time explaining it, and so trying to get it out there again and again and again, and sometimes I think it's like talking to my teenager, I have to tell them 17,000 times before they remember to put the clothes in the laundry basket, not on the floor next to it, but we are focusing a lot on the coast and investing into it because of the return on investment, correct? It'll fund these other parks that aren't making money.
coast generates 65 to 70% of our revenue. It funds the department.
So
and
long
allows for
term,
allows for the investments in.
so long term investing in that return allows us to invest in these parks that are not making any money.
Absolutely.
Well, I think a lot of folks don't realize Douglas County is one of the largest counties in the state. And we built all these parks when we were flush with timber cash. That is gone, likely never to return. So being able to fund these parks just isn't feasible, and without another revenue source, and that's what the coast parks provide. Otherwise, unfortunately, you probably see more and more parks close.
Yeah, when I got here, I think our annual, the top line revenue, the campground revenue, I've got a number of revenue sources, but the top line is 90% or more of it. It was around 2.15, 2.2, and we hit 2.5 last year, and I'm projecting we'll get 2.65 next year. So that's about at least a 20% improvement over 3 or 4 years. And that drives the reinvestment inland is that revenue because most of that revenue generation is from the coast. Some of it's from inland through price increases. I shared with Commissioner Boyce that I think we can hit $3 million in annual campground revenue in a couple more years.
So if that continues to bring in the revenue and the projections are accurate, it will further reduce the dependency on grants and allow you to prioritize parks projects based on their scoring, not just on grant availability, right?
I would always pursue grants because if you can get 50
Right.
cents on the dollar paid for,
Sure.
just because I got the money to
It would just
buy it
accelerate our
myself.
timeline.
Right,
It
it
would
would make
accelerate the timeline.
And not a have to, we have it so we can put the money. Okay. And I know there's a lot of questions and confusions around a lot of this stuff, so the more we reiterate it and talk about it, that, yeah, this is why we're doing this, is because it enables us to invest more in parks that otherwise might become abandoned or sold off.
And then I try to strike a balance between pursuing revenue generating capital improvements and non-revenue. You gotta have a mix.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do
Sure.
is grow
You're paying
the
for a
revenue
mix.
base so I can go have the 150,000 match to go do a playground at Amaker, for example.
Very good, good communication. It's, I guess my 2 cents worth is I go to the parks about 3-4 times a week, cause that's what I do anymore. Drive around. The difference in Amaker and, Whistler's Bend is 180. I go up through Whistler's Bend, that park, and it's stunning and it's packed and it's well kept. And it's a delight to take people, and yet we have lunch on occasion or breakfast at Del Rey, so consequently I'll go across the street and go through Amaker just to cruise through, and I won't say depressing, that's too far gone, but I will say run down. I will say that what is there and who is utilizing it concerns me. And I'm only basing that on the visual of the equipment that's there, the campers, the trailers that are there, how am I saying this, the RVs. There's a whole different set of what's going on there and how it looks.
It's a non-recreational customer.
Right,
Right.
and so it just, what I'm hearing today is I'm not even having to talk, so I don't know why I am, because you guys are pulling it right out of my head. What I was gonna talk about is that Amaker needs help one way or the other. There's a major shift, and yet we have other parks that are doing very, very well, and that's what we want to have, wanna keep, so. Gotta do it all with the same dollars. I think throwing it out for reasons, I guess, is that I try to predict the future as best I can when I make investments and when I plan future and when I borrow money, and when I do things. I think in this Parks Board has to do the same thing, and having said that, I do think with cause is that the grant program is going to change in major ways within the next 3 to 5 years. I won't elaborate on that, but I will say, thinking that the sooner we can utilize the money, put it to work, get it committed, get our things done, the better. The grants we can get to work, the better, because there are going to be some changes. Federal, certainly, state, probably, and given the election, or given the political climate, I'm predicting that in 2 to 3 to 4 years. So that's just from me. But I encourage you to do what you're doing, Mr. Director, is that utilize it, make it work, and get it done as soon as we can. That was my 2 cents, went to 3 cents.
The grants are happening at a very rapid pace.
What?
The grant change is happening at a very rapid pace,
It is.
very, very rapid pace.
It's daily.
It's getting,
The federally funded grants, I agree, there's a number of these grants are ATV registrations, the Marine Board, that's driven registration, so those should be relatively stable funding sources, but Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is pretty much funding half of the $3.5 million investment in Stanton. I think there's some rumblings that that's gonna get tighter.
there's, yeah,
Especially recreation does lean a little bit more bipartisan and stays a little bit less political, but I think, I mean, I know that I'm getting emails daily from different foundations and funders and grants that I work with that they've lost their funding. And even grants that were like, hey, you've got this, you'll have it by the end of the month, they've sent hey, we're sorry, you don't have it anymore. So it's, the more we can do to reduce that dependency, I think is, especially right now, is our smart move, so.
Great, where we at? Camp fees?
Any other specific comments, questions on the plan?
I noticed just real quick, 3 capital items for Pacific Creek Park saved us about $850,000.
Yeah, that's probably on the low end.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Hearing no other comments, campground occupancy rates, well, that was an action item, Chair, so you need to get back to that.
Sure.
I gotta get my slides back. So this is just an FYI, campground occupancy. We had a lot going on this last year with Upper Campground of Stanton closed for construction and Cass Creek being closed. And I just wanted to give you a view of how we're looking. And this is through May of this year, so it's comparing fiscal year through May of 24, fiscal year May of 25. Basically holding our own on the coast, up about 1.5%. Umpqua Dunes continues to already got the phase 3 campsites on our reservation page, pretty much sold out. That campground full. And when you see when there is openings, it's like the changeover days, Monday, Tuesday, midweek. The weekends are pretty much sold out. Inland, Mildred Knipe's down quite a bit, but Mildred Knipe, that's gonna fluctuate a lot because it just doesn't have a lot of people. So maybe it's Pass Creek closure, Amaker, Whistler, and My Waleeta's up. That's all a function of the lake. The reservoir's full, we fill the campground.
Mm-hmm.
And And Stanton, surprised it wasn't down as much as I thought, because we kept the lower campground open and so a lot of our fall, winter use just pivoted to the lower campground, so we didn't miss too much there. Anyway, overall down about 2%, not too concerned about that. I have Stanton and Umpqua Dunes up and running for the full year FY '26, so it's just informational, just give you some insight.
You know, lend credence to your worries about Amaker too. You're down 729, 100 and, 100 of that is Amaker.
Yeah. And then you got a 900 down at Pass Creek that influences that, so I think if you took out Pass Creek, those numbers are a little better. That should be up overall coast. So moving on, budget review, just at a high level. We didn't have a chance to review this earlier since it's gone through the budget process with the county. And that gets officially approved this month. So I'm predicting the revenue up about 6%. O&M grant support, I was able to get $100,000 a year additional O&M support for the coast.
Nice.
That basically pays for 2 techs. And so that's what's driving the increase in O&M grant support. Drop in miscellaneous revenue, that's driven by land sales, so we had Pass Creek and Green Oaks in my budget for FY '25. Those are going to auction July 15th. So it's just gonna slip out of this fiscal year. And operating expenses fairly flat, up about 1%. And then we've got capital projects are down, just because I only got one project currently in the hopper right now next year. That's Whistler Phase 2. And we'll have the Stanton and the Umpqua Dunes projects will be essentially done this month. I think it tells a good story. Questions?
Nothing surprising to me, there's all, do we keep track of demographics on any of these parks? Ages of people that,
Jody does, Jody Wilson,
does she?
she does a cell phone capture for the coast.
Yeah.
So like after Dune Fest or if we say
Yeah.
what was our demographic last month? And it is crazy the metadata you get off cell phones. I mean, you get age breakdown, you get what town they're from, what their age was,
What their
how
dog's
many
middle name
days they
is.
spent.
I invited Jody to the meeting today, but she didn't make it. I told her she didn't have to do Dune Fest, she'd come to
Is
the
that the
meeting.
former Jay Morrow?
Anyway, that's actually, the reason for asking is that part of the thing that I look at in my business, of course, with demographics. And part of the Parks Department should look at demographics, because as they change, as baby boomers get older, as a new wave comes through, they'll have new ideas, new things, new cell phone, operate differently. And consequently, if we watch that close, we gotta play to that crowd, play to that audience. It doesn't do any good to put an outdoor movie theater out at some place you might have done it 30 years ago and it would have packed it. You do it today, nobody will go. So that's the same thing that goes with our parks. We have to play to the audience. So having demographics totals would be a good idea, because I got a hunch they're changing these $1 million motorhomes. You're not gonna see as many of them 10 years from now as you're seeing now. And that's just my guess again.
Well, there'll be 2 million.
Huh?
There'll be 2
There'll
million.
be 2 million and there'll be half of them, so, because that generation isn't, what shall I say, as flushed as the one above them. And if you look at the demographics, the baby boomers are now helping their kids. Their parents helped the baby boomers who peaked all the way through, you can follow all the graphs, and then their kids won't have it, this is the quoting, won't have it as good as their parents did, overall speaking. So when the baby boomers move on, the demographic will say they will be supported by estates, trusts, and so forth, but not general income earned. So we in parks have to pay attention to that. That's, I just throw that out again. It'd be nice to have that data. Where are we?
Old business.
Business.
Pass Creek.
Do we have to
Green
vote?
Oaks.
We'll go to the old
No, we
business.
vote later, don't we?
Yep, we do. You're right, right. Cass Creek and Green Oaks, what's up?
Just a Green Oaks update, that will go to auction next month. And, if you recall, there was a bridge to access Green Oaks,
Yeah, I know the guy who bought that.
so we need to get rid of it. My idea was throw it on GovDeals auction site. We had two guys get in a bidding war, they sold the bridge for $110.
Nice. Have they came and got it
I
yet?
think,
Yeah, it left last week and
Nice.
we got the check.
I'm pretty sure I know who bought it.
Yeah, it was a local attorney,
Yeah, that's right, okay, yeah.
put it on his property,
$110.
$10.
The bridge.
Yeah.
Was it very good?
It was an old steel bridge and they probably spent $20,000 moving it.
I was,
Getting
I was 5 when it was installed, and I'm 54. It's at least 50, it's gotta be 50 years old, more.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old.
So that was a good stroke
I
of
walked
business.
across and it was spooky.
I grew up in that park.
It would cost us $20,000 to get rid of it.
Yeah, we would have had to get rid of it to sell the property.
It sold?
Yes, and they moved it out last week.
Oh, the bridge, but not the park.
Yeah, I heard him trying to trick someone else into taking it. You sure you don't want a bridge?
Yeah,
Well, it worked out good
Not
for us,
really,
cause we would have had to deal with it.
it'd be
Yep.
another bridge to nowhere like Arizona.
So that's Green Oaks, then,
Okay,
Pass Creek,
Crazy.
no, don't we have, oh, the Happy Valley's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pass Creek, that's in, with the land department, Tony Page, who handles all the real estate, and that'll go, out to auction next month, and he's in there's notice process that he's working through right now as far as posting that stuff. He's selling that along with a bunch of foreclosed properties as part of a normal county auction process. On the Happy Valley, we talked to the neighbor, he had some concerns last, we never really talked about it as the full board. I've been getting ongoing complaints about Happy Valley since I've been in this position. Our latest efforts is to, we have an adopt a park guy neighbor that locks the gate every night. We posted lots of posting, day use area, no overnight parking, violators to be prosecuted. And we've thrown up cameras. My goal is if we can get some of these people that are going in there at night and causing all the trouble, you only gotta get 1 or 2 of them and have them prosecuted by the sheriff, and the word will get out to stay away from there. But I think it's always gonna be an ongoing thing. And the fact of the matter is, we don't even own the boat ramp, it's ODOT property, but we get the headaches of dealing with it.
Yeah, it is frustrating, because we've had multiple, the whole time I've been on the parks.
It's our next Green Oaks.
Multiple people come in, complain because there's people doing drugs down there, someone's shooting at me, they're doing this, they're doing that. We used to, when I worked at North River Boats, it was great, we'd take boats down there and run them. Now they avoid it like the plague, because it's dangerous.
Dangerous because of the
Because someone might
Crowd
shoot
that
you,
show
or,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know. And they used to count fish there a lot, I know, but I don't think they do that anymore.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's salmon there.
I used to count fish. Yeah, it seems to be a headache for the county. It's one of those things, like Winston got awarded a free building. Well, it's great, they got a free building, it was, 15 years ago. Then you gotta figure out how to staff it, how to man it, how to maintain it. So the free boat ramp seems to cost the county a lot of money and a lot of grief.
Cost us a porta potty this winter when the flood came.
Yeah, I saw that. I was kinda hoping it would just wash the whole thing away. Take the whole thing out. Cause you'd never get a permit to build another boat
Well, I
ramp.
know what a porta potty costs because they sent us a bill for it.
I'm sure it wound up at somebody's house.
I'm just waiting for the river to drop this summer.
It'll show up,
Somewhere.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know, I would be,
I'm not sure what else to throw out there.
I would
I'm
say
doing what
we
I can.
we should
and
try to,
I need to honestly need to prosecute it, one or two people to
We
get the
can't sell
word
it,
out.
we don't own it, so
No, we can't sell them, and we could just leave it locked.
they're just gonna jump the fence and go make it worse.
You'll find out all the boat owners that use it when you lock it up.
That's true.
Mhm.
How long have the cameras been up?
Pardon?
How long have the cameras been up?
Oh, maybe a month, 6 weeks.
So we don't really know yet how effective it's gonna be, or we'll have to look at it again in like 3 to 6
Yeah.
months.
But within that time frame, we've got a neighbor now locking the gate at night.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't get anyone on camera unless they either broke through the gate or the neighbor forgot to lock it that night. So I think already that locking the gate at night is helping, because I personally hadn't had any complaints in the last month or so.
Okay.
And so we'll just have to monitor it.
Well, I guess let's just keep us posted so we can see what
Leave it on
happens.
here as old business,
Yeah,
we'll revisit it a
good
couple
idea.
of times. Next few meetings.
Mhm.
Yeah, he said they're gonna shop. He's the one who closes the gate. So people were shooting at him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Holes in his house.
but he didn't wanna share any information that I could act on.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if you call the sheriff and say somebody just shot at my house, they'd be there.
They'd be there.
Yeah, he made it sound like Tony Soprano was there, so not sure what's going
It's
on.
hard to help when he's
He
not
definitely, he's
willing to
definitely
share.
very frustrated.
No, and I share his frustration, but you're not
Yeah.
willing to give me something I can get the sheriff on.
I'll keep monitoring that, I don't know the answer to that one.
Right, you're up, Chair.
Okay, Park Advisory Board take action on the new and old business, so we need to what, take the,
It'd just be the CIP is the action item.
yeah,
And
can you do them together?
it's the one
Just the ones that.
FY 26-30 capital improvement plan, included the 21-25 for your review. Provides a rough timeline for implementation, start date subject to grant funding awards and available match funds. And pursue every grant opportunity there is.
I make a motion to approve the plan as written.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the plans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it was unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to comments. Comment, yeah. Citizens' questions, comments on the agenda item.
State your name, where you live for the record.
Sure. My name is Diane Phillips and I live in Azalea, Oregon, so I came quite a long ways for this meeting. And it's because I care. And I have lived in Douglas County for over 40 years. I own 80 acres. I married a local. And I also went to college at Michigan State for engineering and then later at Oregon State for natural resource management. And the reason I mention that is because when we were talking about the public and letting them be informed, the public that's really interested in this is much smarter than you think. I've been on many boards. To me, it's all about cost and benefits. So look at the costs and we look at the benefits. But unfortunately, that's not possible for us because we don't get the information. And I feel like that's a game a little bit with, let's hide the information and then we do it really quick and then we don't know what's going on. And so we talked about you brought up the master plan and how that ties in with the capital improvement plan, which I have not seen. We don't get a copy of it. We have no idea.
It was put out on the agenda online, you could have downloaded it.
I just got the agenda, I'm sorry, online and I
I'm
did
just
not.
stating, it was put out there.
Was it?
for
Okay,
public
so I'm
consumption.
not super
Every-
tech savvy.
Everything the board has in front of them was published online for you to download.
Okay, so then that's partly my fault for not knowing where to find it. Or having it in enough time to, I'm very busy also. So I'm taking time out of to come here, I just wanted to let you know. So that would be great, and next time I'll make sure that I'm more well informed, but hopefully, if there's more open communication between the public and the people that I know that are involved that care, then we can work together. We don't have to be adversary. I think there's just a huge opportunity there. I think the master plan is important, the money was spent on it. I understand the capital improvement plan is something that's more detailed, it's workable, it's putting priorities. And I think you should go back to the master plan, not gut it, but just say, well, we need to amend this really quick, this is not in compliance with, and we can have both. But we need to know, let's not play this cat and mouse game about, where the public really doesn't know what's going on, and we're always trying to find out, and then we find out after the fact that, the park is gonna be sold, and we don't know why, we don't know what the park was even worth. Nobody even told us what Pass Creek Park was worth, and I know when you have a real estate guy that works for the county, he certainly knows what it's worth. So, or what he can get, what kind of a price potential to sell it.
And that'll be published when they go public
Yeah.
with the sale announcement.
And when but see, that's a little bit too late. This all should have been vetted way before it was even considered to be, and why. And I understand totally that what we had 30, 40 years ago in funding is not, the county, I totally get that. And I am a little disappointed the county hasn't diversified more and and they're still looking back at, well, we had all this money and now we don't. But the other, to more positive things, I think if the public is more informed, you're gonna find people that are in that area that are gonna adopt these parks and be concerned about them and can give you some input on, and help. I totally get how grants work. They're there, they're not there, you try to do your best to capture that money. And I was not clear who does that work, who does apply for it. Okay, so that is your job to do okay. Let's see. And also I wanna make it important to know that not everybody lives around Roseburg. We spend our money here, I come here, this is my town, but I live in Azalea. For 40 years, I come here, I spend my money, I recreate here, I do all these things. But our parks where we live are also important to us, not just the ones in Roseburg that I don't get a chance to use. So I wanna just let you know that these outlying parks, including Galesville, which I think could have more camping and you would get a lot more revenue. There's a big stand of trees across the street from Michaeletta Park that has potential for camping spots. I'm glad to see that you're working diligently to bring more money in. And that is just basically what I have to say, because I think when we work with the public, you're gonna get a lot more, you're not gonna get this negative, you're going to get input. Maybe there's a little controversy, don't be scared of controversy. Controversy makes this decision that's made, it vets it out, and the best decision ends up being made. Because I came from a tourist community in Michigan, and all my relatives were business owners, and so we catered to the rich. And it's still like that all these years later. So I know that they're very controversial. My dad, we're all in the government and every single thing they do is controversial, but I'll tell you what, it's wonderful. They have gotten so many good projects done despite of it. So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much for your time and your volunteer effort. I do appreciate that.
Thank you, I appreciate the time.
Chair, like that.
I'd like to add a couple things.
Please, just a minute.
And just to answer some comments, I think you'll find the 5-year capital improvement plan we just put together. That's about as transparent as we can get. You see something you don't like on there, you can come to a meeting and discuss about it. You haven't seen it, but what you'll see on there is we have Galesville Reservoir, camping area, I don't know if it's the one you mentioned, I mentioned the board earlier, it was on the original plan. I don't know where it's at, I need to dig into that, but it's on the list. We're in the process, well, over the next year,
It's on
we'll
the east side.
complete this $4 million investment in Stanton, which is down in your area. And then we've also got the boat ramps and the parking lot at Galesville in the plan to replace. So down in your neck of the woods, that's, and then we redid Pickett Park a couple of years ago. So in your neck of the woods, we're hitting all the parks. The only one we haven't done anything with is long fiber, there's really not much to do with long fiber.
I just need to comment
Just
this.
a minute, please. I need to, it's 11 o'clock and I need to ask the board if we can have a 30-minute extension if needed.
That's at 11:30, we need to do that,
Huh.
we get 90 minutes and then we have to ask.
Oh, is it 90 plus? Oh,
Good.
I withdraw that. I thought it was 60 plus 30. Okay. All right, we're good.
I just wanted to comment real quick on the Stanton Park. Now, that's been under construction for some time, and when they moved the road access, when the Seven Feathers was born, that park has gotten less and less use. And and the use that we used it for, I had Girl Scouts and 4-H and all that, were activities in the public use area. We also did camp down below. Now, it's just something that we're not even using, hasn't been
Well,
used
it's
for a
closed, it's a
while.
construction site.
Been a long time, it's been going on.
We broke ground in October,
Yes.
shut down for 3 or 4 months because of a very wet winter, as you know.
Okay.
And they restarted third week of April and it should be done the end of the month.
Well, I'd like to see the day use also emphasized in that part, not just the camping for out of town.
We remodeled the day use and the upper campground, and we're remodeling the lower campground and adding more day use facilities down below. It will be transformational when it's done.
There's questions, answers here? You guys want?
Troy had some questions.
No, I just appreciate you talking and I wanna let you know that we are not from Roseburg. I grew up in 10 Mile,
I don't live in Roseburg.
Gina lives in Glide,
I went to
he lives in
Oakland.
Umpqua. We are not from Roseburg as well. If you look at this list of park enhancements that I think Gina just shared with you, there's parks all over the county in here. Pass Creek Park is only one park. I know it's in Drain. It's if you look on the list, it's $850,000 to just bring up the capital investment in it. If the county, I mean, we gave plenty of opportunity. Someone who wants to give $850,000 to fix it, then we could have probably done that. So that, and I know that's a point of contention. But just remember, we are not from Roseburg. So all of us are from all over. All of us are very, very busy people. I travel all the time for work. We take 2 hours out of our week, whenever we can, to come here to do everything we can to volunteer and try to do the best thing we can for our parks. So, we're trying.
And one thing too, but I need to apologize too, because last week, I don't know if you're one of the people that showed up, but I did not have it on my calendar. I pretty much live and die by my calendar anymore, and somehow in the changing of dates and scheduling things, this meeting just didn't make it on there. So I apologize for if you are one of the people or whoever did travel up to come to the meeting, cause that was.
I just wanna add that I went to Oakland, so I competed with Yoncalla and all those schools. I've got relatives that live in Yoncalla. I stayed at Pass Creek Park when the kids grew up. But I will tell you, because we had meetings and you did get it coming to this a little bit late. I don't know where you got your information, a little late. We had meetings here, and I will tell you that the board voted, and it was not necessarily unanimous, because everybody was trying to please everybody, I suppose, which we can't do. But they voted in favor of the director's request to sell the park. I will tell you that what I heard, and I'm gonna give you some history. I was a state trooper, so I used to turn around there and protect what was going on when it was up and going in the 70s. I'm going way back with you. I was a semi-truck driver, so I used to park trucks there. Wanted to run to Eugene and back to Roseburg, so I knew where the trucks were at. And what I heard that day that we had a meeting here wasn't all about keeping the park open. That's not what I kept hearing. What I kept hearing was, keep us safe. Keep us safe. People were more worried about what that is drawing the way it is now in a way of non-use, or people, and when you drive by, you've gotta feel a little bit uncomfortable. I go by there once a week, I pulled in there the other day just to look at the closed gate and felt terribly uncomfortable if I were to live around there. So I believe that what the county is doing, approving the director's request and hopefully the commissioners, and get that sold to private enterprise, it's gonna be the best for everybody up there, because private enterprise won't tolerate what's there now. I promise you, they wouldn't buy it if they were. And I'm gonna give you an example. Way back in the 80s, there was a rundown movie theater. Rundown, starting to have garbage, it's called the Cloverleaf Drive-In, set to the freeway at Sutherland. I got a phone call, I went from my state police career to real estate, I catch you up there, so a real estate broker. I got a phone call from the owner of that theater. They said, we gotta do something, it's getting run down, we're getting problems and trouble. So they asked me to market that, and I did, and guess what we put there? An RV park. And that RV park has flourished and flourished and flourished, and housing is going up around it. And good things have happened, is all I'm telling you. So I see a lot of similarities in what's going on with Pass Creek right now. And I think in time, and not too distant future, you will see that what the county is doing is very beneficial for everybody around there, not only to upgrade the area, but bring more public safety there. Am I making sense to you?
I'm on record for saying that exact same thing in the vote, and I sure hope I don't eat my words, cause I really think it's a good thing for Curtin, and I really do, and hopefully that stands true. I hope it cleans it all up, and I hope it's a very positive thing for Curtin.
I wanna tell you, cause you got, I'm teasing you, cause I like to have fun in life, I'm almost 77. I was born in Roseburg, okay? So
I really read.
we can talk history all day long, okay? All right, that's enough of that. Anyway, good things and thank you. You're next, if you wanna visit.
Jimmy,
What's her name, please?
Jimmy.
My name's Renee. Well, how do you all know that? I hide most of the time. I'm just gonna be short and sweet. First of all, I want to really thank you for the questions you asked. And I think they're great. And it made my day. And so anyhow, and that was about all, to tell you the truth. Except I am very interested in knowing how old is the master plan now? I mean, what are we running on?
20 or 21?
I think that's when it's 20 or 21 years old, or
No, I think it was put out in 20 or
It
21,
was finalized, I think.
so
finalized in 21.
potentially, but how many years were spent developing it?
I didn't do it, it was Rocky's work product.
It was Rockies.
I think it's between 5 and 7 years from when it was started trying to develop it to when it was finalized and today's date, so.
So Rocky was in charge when that,
Correct, Rocky
Yes.
Houston.
and did that, was that developed somewhat because well, I know I did anyhow, fought really hard for Knight Park. And I was on the Parks Advisory Board at the time. And we spent hours and hours that I don't think anybody realized, and I'm sure you spend hours and hours that people don't realize. And thank you a lot you opened my eyes to a lot of things, especially you today, and you. And you, well, you all did.
remember you
Anybody
said-
can talk.
You sit right here in the front row at that meeting, cause I remember you. Remember saying how positive you were? You still are.
Oh, thank you. Well, I tried to be, but I could get pretty wild too. If I just don't believe in things that are being done. But I think that it was worth it for me to come today for some reason. I'm interested in the past park, and what you said did make some sense, and you kind of agreed with him. I would have to think a little more on it, but I would, how do we get a copy of the master plan? I mean, can we?
It's on our webpage, it's online. They can
It's
look at it.
online.
It's online.
Yeah,
I thought.
and it's about
Oh,
10
is it? Yeah.
looks like it's about 10 years old, 2016.
You know, I might have it
I thought
if
it was older
if
than
it
that.
Yeah, I thought it
was
was older
Rocky
than that,
that did it.
I would like you to compare it to this too, because if you notice, I was actually noticing these projects come directly off it with the capital improvements on it too, so you can see how they kind of line up with the master plan too.
I'd encourage,
Yeah, I
I'd
think
encourage,
that, I mean, I have a degree in planning, but there's hardly anybody in this world that knows that.
I'd encourage both of you to download the agenda for today's meeting. It's got the 26 through 30 capital improvement plan. Kind of shows you where we're, and if there's something you don't like on there, you have opportunities to come to this meeting and discuss it.
Yeah.
But that's gonna drive,
I'll give them my printed copy.
Yeah, I have a copy in email, you can have my copy.
You can have this one.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a copy in my email as well.
Wonderful.
so there won't
I
be.
didn't write anything on it either.
These are all driven off the master plan, so it'll show you just,
I'm not shaking
You-
your hand.
Thank you.
I'm not a paper person, so.
I'm a planner as well, I plan.
Well, I'm not a planner, I'm an international programmer.
Just
And
recognize,
accountant.
we're not chasing that list in the order
My
it's
wife's an accountant,
presented, it's
so-
kind of prioritized, but then
Pretty
it's
amazing program.
depends on available grants and funding, which ones you pursue. The idea is, like you saw in the first
Apparently
5
you
year,
watch it.
yeah, it's my
apparently you
job
use-
to
On
watch
the
it.
right hand
But
side,
when might you
See the
rewrite
score?
one?
Well, there'll be some tweaks to this, but it's
that's what I was
pretty much,
talking
we've
about.
Or you just keep tweeting?
Those
got
are
a 5 year
scored,
roadmap.
but not necessarily the order
Capital
they're gonna
improvement.
get done in because of.
How long since Rocky was here?
He left summer of 21.
Yeah, wow, been that long already?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, MA.
Very nice, very nice.
Director update, let's move things along here.
This is good.
August capital project, grants awarded and pending. The capital project update, that's a verbal. Dunes is phase 3 is on track to be done this month. We're already getting reservations on the new
That's awesome.
campsites. Stanton phase 1 and 2 will finish this month. I need to work on an RFP for landscaping to dress it all up. I'm working on that right now.
What Rocky used to call that.
What's that?
Rocky called it something, returning it to natural landscaping or something, so. He had a term for not landscaping it and just letting it grow.
Oh, jeez.
We're not doing that, but it was funny. I remember when he said this, I go, okay, it's a neat trick.
The
Yeah,
turn-
I know.
I tried to pull it on my wife, she didn't go for
Trying
it.
to appeal to the sort of the casino crowd. It's gonna
Sure,
be
you wanna
nice-
try to
it's gonna
get
be
them,
nice
you wanna try to
upscale.
get them before they
It's
head
gonna
up
be
the
a nice
hill
upscale.
behind the truck stop.
Yeah, I also set my prices about $5 a site below the casino.
Do we have the shuttle, does the shuttle come down to it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
The phase 3 is the lower campground and putting a trail in from the top to the bottom, a pavilion on the river. That's going out to bid this week and it'll start construction next fall. So the goal is get the upper campground open and for customers, and then we'll basically do the reverse of what we did this year, shut the lower campground down and be under construction all winter. Today, we're setting the restroom building and the day use bathroom at Stanton. That's getting set this morning. On pending grants, I have grants in for, let's see, we have a Whistler Bend phase 2, that'll go out next year. We're working through we got put in a new septic drain field and doing all the soil pits and tests to get that established before we can move forward with that. Stanton phase 3, we have Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to cover that. That breaks ground this fall. I have grants submissions for the River Fork Dog Park we discussed. That comes up in July and we'll probably award in August, September. And then I have a grant in with the Marine Board to replace the east and west boat docks at Cooper Creek and redo the parking lots. And I fully expect I'll get that one. And that timeline will be driven by the timeline to get the docks ordered and delivered. And just for your benefit, because I'm new to this, replacing docks, $1,000 a foot and $20,000 for a 20-foot section.
Are we
Kidding?
using pressure treated wood again, or are you going to like the
No, they're
composite
doing,
stuff?
the new ones, it's that, like the Trex deck.
Tricks, yeah.
So the lifespan will be.
A lot longer.
Would you have
They don't give
definitely
slivers,
done
right?
that?
$1,000 a foot.
Oregon State Marine Board,
Oh,
they'll pay 75% of that.
Yeah, okay.
And then I just threw the other, we've got local government grant, land and water conservation grant coming up this fall, and then kind of targeting Halfmoon Bay expansion as far as planned grant applications. Just kind of a snapshot of what we're up to there. That wraps up my grant discussion.
Good.
Questions, comments?
Parks Board comments. Great meeting, you guys. Give me some comment down there, and I can tell you just what, Gina's ready to jump right out there, go.
It's already,
Well, one thing
I
we,
already said enough.
is that enough? Oh, no.
she said she's done enough.
We got a newer member that I'm waiting to hear from.
Craig's been
Craig.
quiet.
Craig, you're off too quiet. The quiet guy in the corner that thinks. What's going on, Craig?
His dad wasn't that quiet.
No, he wasn't.
His dad and I went to school together, same grade.
I think Mark's doing a great job. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on here and a lot that's gotten done. I mean, historically, I mean, what, it's hard to say much.
Good, well, I'm glad you're on the board. We'll get you going.
I think honestly, you know, I've been on I think this is my second year, I don't even know if it's going to my third year on the board, and it's gotten more
Goes fast.
transparent. What's that?
It goes fast.
It does go real fast when life flies, but it's getting more transparent, honestly, since even when I first started, and you know, that's part of the public's been asking for it. I know Kavana pushed a lot of that, seeing the budget open up more. I think it'll just get more transparent as we go forward. We're trying to get more positive spin out to the public. I would like to see the veteran numbers again. I know I ask for that all the time since we changed the veteran. I'd like to see where we're at on that. I'm very passionate about that piece, as everybody knows. I would love to see where we're at on
We
that.
got some heat over that one
We did get some heat over it.
from our fellow veterans.
So I'd like to see where that is, if we could get that in the next meeting.
Oh, you recap?
Yep, just kind of see where we're at on that again.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean,
Jen, will you ask David to work on that? I'm gonna make the
I
notes
mean,
to add it.
cause it's important to me.
Oh,
And then,
big.
but other than that, I really am glad I was able to join this, and I mean, we get heat over some things and, you know, but it's tough decisions we have to make, and we all make the best decisions we can, and so we move forward, so.
Leadership isn't always about just pushing the positive stuff. You
Yeah.
gotta
Right.
take the.
It's tough,
What do you think, Phil?
yeah, well, I hope that, I'm hoping that the House Creek Park sells to someone who has some plans to do something with it, because that area's really been struggling. It has helped the folks who opened a little truck stop there in the fueling station. That helped a lot, but I know there's some folks in Curtin, who are struggling, having some hard times. But if we could, you know, and I'm also a property rights guy, like, I don't like the fact there's an old burned down building shell there. But somebody owns it, it's their land, it's their property.
The gas station,
Yeah, well, it'd be nice if they tear that down, you know, tear down the condemned, what is it, Sunset Hotel, Motel, Notel, Motel, whatever.
All I've ever seen is a burned out building. I never knew what it was.
Across the, but it used to be at the
There's a
coach
motel
house,
across the way,
the
too.
coach house, it was, at the little diner, it was great when I was a kid, used to go there with my dad, drove trucks, but anyway. I think it could be a start to revitalizing that area, because the folks there need some wins, I think, that might start, cause you know, for example, look at Tri-City. Years ago, Shirtcliff redid the fuel island there, then they put in McDonald's. And then Winco Warehouse came in, and now you've got a Dollar General, you've got a Tractor Supply, you've got Tesla charging stations, you know, it actually kinda starts taking off, but you've gotta get those first few steps to start turning those areas that have been struggling around. And I'm hoping this will be a good first step in that direction.
I will say I've had a number of inquiries from private parties looking at it for housing.
If I was a bet
Oh,
man, I
turn
would
it
bet
over.
whoever buys that is gonna put in another RV park long-term or something like that.
There's interest in it.
Somebody's gonna do something with it, kinda like the little park, the private RV peak on the other side of the Coon Hollow Bridge out in Dillard.
And maybe
That's
that's,
a little-
maybe that's a little.
Six-hole golf
yeah.
course.
It might be just the spark that intersection needs to just.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a pathway to the coast, it's a great location.
Yeah.
You can clean it up, and
and the people
And-
there are awesome.
there
Great
is
place.
people in Curtin that probably don't want it. I mean, they, you know, they're stuck in their ways, they don't want growth. I mean,
Sure.
it's gonna happen, but it's inevitable that someday that's gonna happen. I think we're gonna,
There's an old saying, you can't stand still, either you go forward or you fall backwards.
Yep.
You
That's
can't stay the
that's
same.
pretty much.
I mean, it's just,
I guess my 2 cents, and I appreciate everything in the board being here and all your time in it. One thing I like to end on a positive note, I wrote some notes down. I wanna talk about, March and the Ben Irving Dam. That was a major project, the county and so forth, and the taxpayers, if you're listening out there, I want you to know what it did. When that March flood hit, that Ben Irving Dam did more than it was designed to do. It held back water that was would have otherwise destroyed millions, I'm not exaggerating, millions and millions of dollars of property, could have very easily cost wildlife, life, cattle, domestic otherwise, and human life. But that dam was over capacity, but people in charge, started with the county commissioners, bring it on down, the people in charge of that dam were fluctuating that dam so close to keep water from going over the spillway, which was never designed to do. That dam was never designed for water to
It's
go
an
over the
earthen
spillway.
dam, it would have just went.
It would have been,
Would have eroded the
they
whole
had to
side.
play that to the very max. Now, I am one of the landowners down the creek. I own a 600-acre ranch there. I have 115 acres irrigation rights, and I pay for that out of that dam, just so you people know that that's not free water. Anybody that takes water out of that dam year-round pays for it. I'm one of those people, pay for my 115 acres. And we water livestock, we water wildlife, believe it or not, elk are all over the place. But point being, that dam is doing well, but I wanted to bring your attention to March. If never anything else comes to your mind, there's one time, 3 days, that dam saved millions in damages and probably life. So I wanted to put that on the record. Question. How old is the dam? That's a good question.
It's I think it's older than that actually, cause
I was 10 or 12, I think, when they filled it in, like I
Was
said, it's
that
40 plus
really,
years
I
old.
grew up there,
About
so
40 years? Didn't have something.
Maybe I was even
It's older
younger.
than that,
Yeah, I was at
because I
10
was-
Mile Elementary, I was in the
so
third grade, I was like
I
eight.
grew up swimming, that's where I learned how to swim.
I was like 8.
Has it say in
It's almost
years?
50.
I mean, if
Excuse
it's
me?
Gotta be
40
50,
years old, it must have, you must have known by now that it would take care of what was happening.
No, we're talking about the flood this last March.
Yeah, I mean, were there any other floods in the last 40 years?
Not like that one. Well, 40 years, let me think.
60.
96 had one, but not like that.
No, there's a 59 and a 62, not a 62, what was it?
64.
96 was a good one, but it wasn't nearly like that.
This one just came up so fast.
So
I think,
quick.
I think the lake
So
came
quick.
up 14 feet in less than
Just
24 hours.
in no time. That's why that dam was kind of not ready for it. Like they drain it down somewhat in the winter because you know it's gonna rain, but you don't know that you need Noah's Ark. Well, it came all of a sudden. And part of the problem, not to delay it, but we're still okay in a couple of minutes here. Part of the problem is that when years go by, and I'm talking Looking Glass Creek, I'm talking Olalla, talking.
Things change.
Talking Dixonville, talking Deer Creek, what happens, and I've seen it over and over and over, is that through the years, people throw the brush, cut it, throw the brush, throw the old grass, throw the sticks and twigs in the creek. Well, it builds up for a decade, and then here comes the water, and guess what it does? It backs up until it blows it out, and that's why the waters go up, blow it out, and then it comes back down, but
We almost flooded the 10 Mile substation and everyone asked us why we didn't build it on higher ground. And I said, well, everyone that built it's deceased. And that's the first time in 75, first time since it's been built that it ever got water that high
water that high, so.
in that spot.
Anyway, I want to bring attention to that dam and to the people that got that dam in, because I doubt that you could do it today, given
No.
so I won't say it paid its way, but it made a big down payment on paying its way, so.
I just got a message for, I guess for you, that people have been trying to get on Zoom and didn't, and I guess they thought you knew about it.
It was on, Joe Ross was on there for a while and then I saw he left.
From Joe.
He was on, we saw him.
Joe's
Yeah.
the one that wrote it.
Well, he was on there and then he dropped off and so I don't know if it was a technical on his end
I
or.
think if he dropped off, he probably lost.
So I just figured he got bored and
Yeah,
went away.
no.
He was on there for a while and
That
I
wouldn't be Joe, he would have stayed on.
Yeah, no, okay, well, he was on there for whatever reason, it dropped off.
He is wants you to know that some people, and I think he probably got kicked out. I think
Okay.
something happened.
Well,
Technology.
Joe's been at the meeting before and he gives us his point of view.
Yeah.
So that's good, well, I think we're done, aren't we?
Oh, he was there on, but got muted. He can't hear this, so he just.
Okay.
I was on then muted, but now wanted back on and couldn't get on.
Tell Joe we'll see him at
Just so
the
you know.
next,
Alright.
thank you. Meeting's adjourned, thank you.